How you do that, girl? How you do that, girl? I am your man's Nic Rattlehead, and behind this camera is my man's with the master plan, 100 grand, only you, me, and God knows how much I love this guy, man, because this is my pal. I kid you not, I love him like he's my brother, Matt the Graff, and we would like to collectively welcome you guys to Aftershock Reviews, your place for the best extreme music reviews, man. And today I submit before you a criminally underrated album. Dear heaven, please talk more about this album. This is why we're here. I will do it my doggone self. The name of this album is called Hominal by the one-man wrecking crew out of Arizona, Light Dweller. Now, Light Dweller is the stage name for Mr. Cameron Bosch. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. And he comes from Arizona, the Sonoran Desert, from that sweltering heat, probably, which is why we have that weird, and also very gnarly sandworm or labyrinth monster on the front cover of this thing. It's freaking great. And he's doing all of the recording, all of the drums, guitars. He's doing the graphic design, logo. He's doing everything. This man is the jack of all trades. And usually when you're probably the jack of all trades, you're probably not particularly good at one thing, right? That's the problem with being, the jack of all trades. Yeah, I can do everything, but can you do one thing well? This man is doing everything well. And it is wonderful. Holy cow. And let's get into it, because 1312 is a monster of a track. Heavens to Megatroid. It is 15 seconds shy of 8 minutes. But in that 7 minutes and 45 freaking seconds, we get a 10-second ambient interlude, right? That paints the picture for which this album lives. And then we are bombarded with riffs. Ooh, 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 ooh. Throat shredding, esophagus ripping riffs. Gosh, oh my gosh. And it is so wonderful because a lot of this album is very dissonant, which means, yet again, because we know what Wikipedia means, it's lacking some type of harmony, right? Or melody, right? And that's pretty cool with me. I'm fine with that. I'm a Portal fan. I like All Rage, things of that nature. And the reason why I bring those people up is because this is also more of a blackened death album. So it's black metal and there's a lot of death metal in there. And it's very atmospheric as well. So yes, there is reverb here, but it's not overly done. The whole thing isn't just slathered in it in order to make it feel cavernous. The riffs itself and the playing itself is the highlight, the thing that makes this album go, because Light Dweller's vocals are great. They are wonderful. They are guttural. They're this weird, almost disconnected, ghastly type of death metal growl. Holy cow, bro. It's like you can kind of hear it from around the corner, threatening to drag you to hell, right? And at the same time, though, you have this black metal backscape for which he lives. And it's wonderful. I kid you not. Because yet and still, we're going through all of these different ideas with so far as these riffs is concerned. Nick, let's pause real quick. Time out. If I had a whistle, I'd blow it. Time out. So we throw a lot of these terms around, right? We say riffs and blast beats and stuff like that. But what about some of the people who are new to metal, who don't know what a riff is? Because I'm thinking that this might be a little bit confusing for some folks. A riff is, and this is what Wikipedia said, check this out. A riff is a repeated chord progression or refrain in music. It is a pattern, it is a harmony, it is a melody, or amalgamation of all of those, right? So when it comes to a riff now, when I'm talking about this album really makes a conscious effort only to use harmony within a riff when it's necessary. So you won't get that almost triumphant riffs or chord progressions all the time in this album, unless it is necessary. And when I say it's necessary, it's usually used as a transitional device, right? So it usually means, especially on tracks like, let's say, Chasm of Limbs or Dogma Harlot. Holy cow. He uses these harmonic riffs to transition you between one dissonant and disconnected and almost satanic-like riff to another. You see what I mean? So he's really being very selective on how he utilizes these things. And that helps to keep the overarching sense of dread and fear, right? And it really feels like this album weighs on you, which is really also due in part to the way he programs his drums. Now, the percussion in this album is very, very good. Oh my, but maybe this is just me. Maybe this is just me. It's kind of like how, like, you know, some people like their burgers medium well, or some people like their burgers rare, or things of that nature, right? For me, the only critique I have for this album, the only one is, I wish the percussion just boomed and rang a little bit more, because it's great. It's proficient. It's technical. It's thoughtful. It is effective, right? But at the same time, I just wish they rung just a little bit more. I wish those toms rung, that snare snapped a little bit more. I wish that kick drum just felt like it was hitting me in the gut. But what I do understand is that can sometimes be also a little bit distracting from the technical proficiency of those guitars and that bass. So I get why he did it, but maybe for me, I would just wish it would just came out just a little bit more in the mix, because it's so good. Like, this thing is the literal definition of an onion when it comes to metal. There are so many layers to peel back, whether I am being enthralled by those freaking vocals, or I'm listening to it for like the 4th time and I'm like, okay, cool. These riffs though, holy, Thrall Beguiled? Bruh, it's like one cool idea after another. There is a main riff, there is a transitional riff that goes into another riff, that goes into another one, and another one, and another one. And the great thing about this is this album feels very claustrophobic. This album feels like I'm being slapped in a tight freaking like labyrinth, right? Because yet and still, since these riffs are so weird and there are so many of them, and it feels like the landscape of this album is constantly shifting and moving, right? The riffs are so snaky. It feels like I'm in some type of weird labyrinth. And with every twist and turn, with behind every corner, there's something else waiting to swallow me whole. Oh my gosh. And those riffs do a really great job of that. And the great thing about this album is it really never feels like it's a dead end. Because sometimes when I say a dead end, that means that the artist has nothing else to contribute to you. They have given you all the ideas in the worst case scenario, maybe even by the second track of this album. So let's say we go from 1312 to Thrall Beguiled. After that, for some artists, there's nothing else to say, and then they just try to mask everything behind a blast beat. Not so here. Oh my gosh, it's just like, it's a more proficient version of Portal to me. That's how it feels. And it feels more ominous. It feels more threatening. It feels bigger and fuller and just more dangerous. Oh, heavens to Megatroid. And then let's go Chasm of Limbs. Listen to me. This goes back to where I'm talking about these harmonic riffs serving as a transition, right? And the great thing I also really love about Chasm of Limbs is the fact that it knows how to shift its tempo, right? And this album does it really well. But for this track in particular, going from blitzkrieg fast to very slow and back to blitzkrieg fast again. Like, this is a great album. This is a wonderful album. And I kid you not, it's so great that this man then turned around and released an instrumental version of this album. So there's 2 versions. There's one with the vocals, one that is just purely instrumental. And for me, each one has something else different to offer you, right? So I think it's kind of like how Kendrick Lamar's Damn was, where if you listen to it from start to finish, right, you got one message of the album, but then he released a special edition after a lot of contemplation about, oh, well, what happens if you listen to it in reverse? And you listen to Damn in reverse, right? And then you get something completely different from the album, which I thought was very smart. The same thing is happening here. That level of dread almost kind of melts away a little bit when it comes to the instrumental version. But instead, what we get is, yes, it is very dangerous, but you're more so marveled. He is an artist that knows how to paint with different colors of gray. and make something very beautiful. I think that says something with even the gray scaling of the cover art, right? To differentiate itself from the vocal version versus this one. And you get marveled by his proficiency of his craft. You get marveled about how excellent each riff is, kind of like how Outer Heavens album was from 2018, Realms of Eternal Decay. That album was a riff fest. This one is the same thing, but it has that more homemade basement-like type of production style, which makes it seem even more ominous, right? And makes it seem even more. This is a great album. This is a great album that I really feel that isn't talked about enough. And it's Criminal. The name of this album again, and I kid you not, let me know what you think in the comments below. Let's talk about this, because I really do believe that this album deserves way more shine than what it's getting. And I believe that artists like this is why this show exists. Artists like this is why this show is here. Because this is the album that I believe should be on a lot of people's year-end list. For damn sure, it's probably going to be on mine. And pardon the language, by the way. But I feel like I have to use it to drive the point home that this is a sleeper album that you should not be sleeping on. The name of this album, again, is called Hominal by the band, or the one-man wrecking crew, Light Dweller. Please go to Bandcamp. Hell, I bought my CD. My CD on wet. Go buy the album. Right? Buy a t-shirt. Go follow him on at Light Dweller on Instagram. We need to support our artists, man. We need to lift up talented people like this to make sure that they are able to continue to produce their craft, right? This is great. This is wonderful. It's filthy. Freaking wonderful. Ugh. I am your man's Nic Rattlehead, and behind this camera is my man's with the master plan 100 gram. Tell me what your name is again, man. Matt the Graff. Matt the Graff. How you do that there? How you do that there? Hey.